All right, these are the instructions for the Shades of Blue mandala. If you picked up one of those kits from me, a craft show, or ordered from my Etsy shop, you have a whole kit with everything in it. You have the written instructions. You have a circle template that helps us size the coils. You have this template, this kind of a pattern that we will follow. That's the paper. Then we have a foam board as our working surface that we will lay that on. You'll have a little piece of wax paper. It goes on top of it. It still allows you to see the pattern, but we'll build the mandala on without sticking to the paper. You'll have 20 dark blue quilling strips, 10 medium blue, and then 20 of the light blue to complete this pattern. There are extra. I mean, that's the number I put in there, but that's more than you'll need for this pattern, but I wanted to give you extra. I also included some pins for households that might not have pins readily available. You'll have a slotted quilling tool, which has just a regular quilling tool with a little slot in the end. I'll show you how to use that. The only thing you'll need is glue. Now, I have this glue that I just get at Michael's on Amazon. A lot of craft stores have it. I prefer it because it has the little needle nose point. You don't have to use that kind. You can use Elmer's glue. Sometimes I just put little Elmer's glue on a little pad and a little puddle of it, and I can just use a toothpick to put it on, the glue on our quilling strips. That helps too, but I just had this handy, so I'm going to go ahead and use this. So let's get started. All right, the first thing we have to do is make the middle coil, which is actually 7 strips altogether. And how do we do that? Well, we're going to go ahead and open our strips, and if we follow the instructions, it says to glue 5 dark blue to 1 medium and then to 1 light. So how do we do that? We just get off our 5 dark blue strips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's perfect. And then we just need a medium blue. You'll notice they are attached at the end sometimes. Not all of them are, but yours might be. And then we'll take one of the light blue. And we'll put these out of the way. All right. Now, I think the easiest way to attach all these is just glue them end to end. So you will end up having a big, long strip. And if you've quilled before, you might have done this before, but if you haven't quilled before, this is the example of something you don't do very often, is glue 7 strips together to make a big coil, but that's how this one starts. So let's start with that. And you can see as soon as you open quilling strips, it is easy to get a lot of strips everywhere. So let's start with gluing our 5 end to end. Make sure everybody can see. Okay. So all I'm going to do is put a dot of glue. A dot. We just have to think, you know, just a dot, not a lot, just like they do in preschool. I do tend to be an overgluer, so I will try to line up these edges. It does not have to be, there's not a certain overlap that you need, just as close to the end as you can get without it falling off, with a dot of glue. And give it a pinch. And the next one. You'll see pretty quickly how this is going to make a nice big kind of disc, right? Our tight coil looks like a big disc. That's our 4th one. Sometimes you'll get this glue on the end of it. Just pull that off. A dot. Give it a pinch. I also like this glue because it's clear. And then we're going to do the, that's the end of my dark blue. I'm going to glue the medium blue to it. This is going to be the outside ring of it. The middle is going to be the dark blue. Oh, also, I forgot to bring my wipes over. So I usually just use some baby wipes to wipe the extra glue off my fingers. That always comes in handy. I'll grab some in a minute. Okay. And that should do it. You see it's nice and long. Each one of these strips is about 17 inches long. These are called the Shades of Blue quilling strips from Quilt Creations. They're 1/4 inch wide. They also make them in 1/8 and 3/8, but I thought this was a good beginner-friendly size. Okay, we don't necessarily need this. We don't need our pins now, so I'll move those out of the way. We don't even need our template board right now, but I'm just going to show you how that circle is going to fit in there. So if you have a slotted quilling tool and you've never used it before, just hold your paper between your fingers, find the slot in the quilling tool, and slide it in there. Get it as close to the edge as you can, and then just gently coil it. I'm just turning the quilling tool clockwise. You can turn it counterclockwise, whatever's comfortable for you, and you will start making a coil, a tight coil with your quilling tool and paper. And then I'm just going to release it and hold it between my thumb and fingers. You'll notice I just came to the first seam where they connected. That's fine. Just you'll feel it in your fingers. Keep turning. Another 17 inches. There's the other seam. So we're building our tight coil. That's going to be quite large because it's going to anchor this project in the very middle. And that's where we'll start building this, from the very middle. And let's see, there's our last piece of dark blue coming in, and then it's transitioning to the medium blue and the light blue. So I did this so that I could incorporate all the 3 colors we were using into the tight coil. Oh, sorry, I should have showed you. When I got finished, I just pulled this straight out. It is probably not too tight in there. Some people do this by hand, but I use a quilling tool. It makes it easier. All right, now you have a very large tight coil. And we are going to put a dot of glue on the end of that tail, and we're going to roll it up and hold it for a second. And this is going to be the anchor of our mandala. All right, look at that. Hopefully you can see that pretty well. Okay, I am going to take my quilling tool and use it like a rolling pin to flatten all the coils down. Now, sometimes if you get a little, you know how you get little gluey fingers and it can get on there? We'll just wipe that off with my wipe that I'm going to go get in a minute. And this is going to be the center of our mandala. And you can see how that fits just right on there. Then, so this is your tight coil. This is the beginning, and that's step 1. We are going to use, for step 2, we're going to use this circle template that I gave you. And this is just a circle template I made using my Cricut cutting machine. And we're going to use our strips, but we're going to make a loose coil out of that strip and shape it into a teardrop. And that's how we're going to make these teardrops, the medium blue, and all of these light blue teardrops on the outside. This is a loose coil and this is a tight coil, and we will do those on step 3 and 4. So let's go on to step 2 and make our medium blue teardrops. All right, let's move on to step 2, the medium blue teardrops that we're going to make out of a full-length strip. And we're going to use the template to size it, and we're going to use the number 1 spot. So let's do the same method. Slotted quilling tool, slide it in, get it as close to the end as you can, and turn it into a coil. So just keep turning, holding it loosely. Tension does matter on quilling. If you're too aggressive with it, make it too tight, the paper will not want to uncurl or uncoil. There you have another tight coil, but you have a littler one than this big guy. And that is just your single strip tight coil, which you can make art out of that. Lots of people do. But we're going to put it in template number 1 and let it expand. And you see how this coil's all spread out? And that's what we call a loose coil. Now we have to glue that and turn it into a teardrop. So gently pick it up, get the tail, and put a dot of glue on it and lay it down gently to dry. Now, I ended up getting some wipes, so if you get gluey, get some wipes. At the same time that I'm putting that glue on there, I want to take my loose coil and pull this little eye up here to the top, and I want to pinch the bottom. Just gently pinch the bottom. And that turned that loose coil into a teardrop. And that's how you make your quilled teardrops, which you have a lot of in this pattern. This pattern is full of teardrops, and it fits perfectly right there. So let's do that again. Your medium blue strip, your slotted quilling tool, slide it in there, close to the edge as possible, and start turning. Just take your time and make it the full strip on there. Nice and loose, not too tight. When you get to the end, just pull your tool out and put this in the number 1 template and let it expand. That's when you have it expanded, gently pick it up, hold its shape, put a dot of glue on the end of the tail, and then make our teardrop. Hold the tail, see where we glued the tail? I want to pull that eye up and pinch the tail. So where we just glued it, we want to pinch, and that puts that seam right at the bottom of the teardrop, which gives you a little bit better look. All right, there's another teardrop. We have 8 of these to make. So let's make another one. Slotted quilling tool, slide it in, and quill. A lot of my students actually quill the opposite way than I do. I quill counterclockwise, but it's just totally what's comfortable for you. Let's put it in the 1 and let it expand. Now the reason we use a circle template is because we would like our sizes to be the same each time. We want them to be uniform. That's not true of every project that we do, but for this project, it definitely is true. We want them to be as accurately the same size as we can. All right, we have our tail that I just put a dot of glue on. I'm gonna pinch it there with my thumb and my finger up there, and then I'm gonna pull the eye up and just give it a little squeeze. It does not take much. And this glue dries very quickly, not too quickly though. The tacky glue that I sometimes use dries very quickly and doesn't give you any room for like adjusting. So sometimes I do want to undo it and do it again, so I want to adjust it. All right, it's looking good so far. All right, let's continue with our teardrops in our medium blue. Slide it in your quilling tool. Quill it all the way to the end. Slide out the quilling tool. Put it in the circle template to size it. Give it a second to expand all the way. Sometimes it takes a minute for that paper. Pick it up and keep the shape. A dot of glue, just a dot. Roll that down a little bit, find the tail and pinch and pull. You don't necessarily need to pull that eye up. I just do it. Not everyone does that. It'll go up by itself anyway. I just like to give it a little head start and help shape them more uniformly. All right. Slide your tool in. make your coil. And there we go. Put it in number 1. A dot on the tail. Give it a little rub there to hold it down. Now I'm going to pinch it. And you can see I can pinch without pulling that eye up as well. I just pull it up. That's just a habit I've started doing. All right, I want to demonstrate a few more times for you, and then I'll let you loose with your other teardrops. Let's do slide it in. Turn your quilling tool. Again, this is called a slotted quilling tool. Some people use a quilling needle. I've not had a lot of luck at that. I probably need to practice it more. It's on my list of things to do, but for now, the slotted quilling tool works just fine. Oh, now see how this is a good example of accidents sometimes. The coil popped out of the template, no worries. It's not a very deep template for a couple of reasons, but so sometimes this is a 1/4 inch strip, and that's probably 1/16 inch depth, so it is easy to pop out, but we'll just do our best. Here we go again. Okay, now it's stayed in. And that, I have to say, does take a little practice, but not much. Just practice putting it in there and be patient. Be patient with yourself and patient with the template. It'll work out, and it's worth it because it makes all your circles the same size. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let you finish those, and we'll move on to the next ones. Okay, let's move on to this other part of step 2 where we make our small, loose, dark blue coils right in here. So to do this, we're going to use our dark blue, but we don't want a full strip. We want a half a strip. So I'm going to fold this in half and just rip them. You don't have to, you can cut them with scissors. And just get them as close to half as, you don't have to measure them. Just fold them in half and rip them. All right, now I've got 8, and that's exactly what we need. So we have a half a strip. Sometimes we use half, sometimes we use a 1/4 of a strip. Sometimes we use whole strips, sometimes we glue 5 and 7 of them together. So this one happens to be, like the directions say, half a strip, but we're going to put this half strip in a size 3 circle template. We don't have as much strip to work with, so that's the perfect size. 3 and 4 are good sizes for half a strip. 1 and 2 would be if you're using a full strip. That's just a general rule of thumb. Now, this says loose coil. We don't shape this. We don't shape it at all, and I got a little too much glue coming out of there, but that's okay. Wipe my... See how nice that is? It's just a nice loose coil. Hopefully you can see that. And that's going to go in between the medium blue teardrops. So we have 8 of these to make. None of this is glued down. It's just laying on there to show you, which, now that I think about it, I'm going to have to move it all, but that's okay. I should have put my wax paper on top of there, but that's okay. It would make it harder for you to see the template, I think. Okay, so look at this one. This one kind of got boingy there for some reason. Well, I know the reason. It's because I quilled it too tightly, but we can fix that. So I'm going to unravel it, and I'm going to quill it the opposite direction than I just did and see if I can tame that little, you know, it's kind of like, it's just paper. And I think the Quilt Creation strips are, you know, I think they're 60-pound paper, if that makes sense. But my point is, it's just like curling ribbon at Christmas time. If you curl tightly, you can get a bigger, like, result, right? Well, I don't really want this to curl. I do want it to bend, but I don't want You don't want to do it like a Christmas package or a birthday package. That calmed it down when I did it the opposite way. So there we go. That'll fit right in there. Again, we're not gluing them yet, just placing them to show you. Another little trick that I've learned recently is we tore these strips in half, and you'll see the torn end has the fibers show versus the cut end on the other end. Some people will only use torn strips, and they will only glue on the torn strip end, which kind of makes sense because you have all those fibers exposed and it helps your paper lay flatter versus like just a cut edge. So if you have the opportunity to tear your ends, that's fine if you want to do that. We tore those in half, so I just quilled towards the torn end. And that's a number 3. Just a dot on the tail. Hold it for a second. Give it a little rub to encourage it to stay down. You can see how that template helps us make them all the same size. I'll do one more with you, and then I'll let you free to do the rest. You don't need to watch me do 5 more of them. We'll go ahead and nice and gently coil that. Put it in the number 3. Let it expand. Pick it up. Thank goodness. I also use the wipe on my strips sometimes. I got little gluey stuff on there. Okay, there we go. 4 more to go. Let's go. All right, we are on step 3, which is the outer ring that we're going to do. And we're going to start with our teardrops. These are the same exact design as the medium blue. So we'll take a full strip. You'll need 16 of them, and you have 20. So you will have plenty. We are going to make our loose coil in circle template 1 and turn into a teardrop. We have our tight coil. We'll put it in number 1 to make our loose coil so that we can shape it into a teardrop. Glue the tail and give it a pinch. And it will go right there. And now we need, whoopsies. And we need to make 16 altogether. So let's get going. All right, I have the 16 teardrops in light blue made, and I'm ready to move on to the dark blue tight coils that go in between here. This one got jostled a little bit, but remember, they're not glued yet. We just need 4 strips, but we're going to tear them in half, just like the other ones, because we don't want a big coil. We just want a little small tight coil, and that's perfect size for in between there. So now you have 8 because I tore 4 strips in half. So we're going to make these into tight coils. Slide it in there, quill it. You can see I get paper cuts a lot just from turning this. Sometimes that happens, no big deal. All right, that's a tight coil. I'm going to pull my quilling tool out and just leave it like that. That's the size we're going to use. We're not going to expand it in any template. Give that a dot of glue, give it a good press, and that fits nicely right in there. There's one little tight coil. So just half of that strip again, just like we used half up there for those loose coils. I guess you could make that a loose coil if you wanted. I just think the tight coil fit better, but you give it a try if you'd like. Let it expand. See if you like that size in there. All right. There we go. There's another tight coil using a half a strip. Dark blue. Push it down and slide it in there. All right, I'm going to finish these other ones up while you finish yours, and then we'll come back to assemble it. All right, we got all the tight coils made. All the coils are made. So now we will get ready for gluing it. And your instructions do have a page on that, how to assemble it, how to layer it. I'll just show you. You have your foam board, you have your design, and then you have your wax paper. I'm not sure it matters which side up you put. Then you have some pins. Well, the pins are to kind of hold things in place. Some people are pinners, some people are not. I kind of am a pinner. I'm an over pinner, but better safe than sorry. Okay, I'm just going to do 3 because the 4th one gets in my way if I do that. We're going to start from the inside out. So we're going to start with your big tight coil that you made. We're not gluing this on the paper. We're gluing the petals to each other. But we're going to take that big tight coil and we're going to use a pin to steady it because that is our anchor. So line it up with your middle design. You can see it through there? Yes, okay. And give that a push to hold it still. Actually, it still spins on there, so I'm going to give it 2 pins, kind of at a slant to try to anchor it. That's much better. All right, now to glue the petals together, or I'm sorry, to glue them on here, there's 2 different methods. There's one called the dipping method, which we make a little puddle of glue. Wait, can you see that? Yes. Puddle of glue there. And we literally just dip the end in there, wipe off the excess, always wipe off the excess because there's always excess, and tap it on your design. Just tap this end into that, and that will be enough glue. Now, we have 1 on here, so we have 2 more. We have an extra point to put glue. We're going to put glue there, and we're going to put glue there. There's another way to do it with a Q-tip. Here's my Q-tip. This is a long-handled Q-tip, but you can use any Q-tip. And you put a little glue there, and a little glue where it's going to meet this guy. And then you push it on. That's one way. Some people use tweezers. I do use tweezers sometimes, depending. Some days my hands are shakier than others. Sometimes they're not. But right now I don't need tweezers. I probably will in a little bit. Now, as you start building it too, if you want to turn it to make it easier for you, that's always a good idea. These are going to get sloppy over here a little bit, but that's okay. You see how we're gluing these pieces together? We're not gluing the pieces to the paper. This is going to be a freestanding mandala that you will put wherever you want. You don't have to put it on a piece of paper. Some people hang them. You can do it however you want. I didn't design it to be strictly only, definitely not only on paper. And make your way around. See how nicely they fit? You might not need to move it, but if it makes it easier for you to reach, go right ahead. Again, a little glue is enough, just a dot. Make sure the edges are touching so that glue does its job. And the last medium blue teardrop goes right here, and it gets glue on both edges now. The clear glue is great, but it is hard to see sometimes. Right, and there's our last fella. If it doesn't seem to touch both edges, just give the tips a little touch to plump them up at the base. Also, you can take one of your pins and pull it over to reach while it dries. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I even use pins just, to butt it up against the tight coil to give it a tighter hold. Make sure all the edges are touching. That looks good. All right, our loose coils are fun to stick in here because so easy, but they have two edges. So put a dab of glue there, dab of glue there, and we should be able to slide this right in. I try to slide the end in with the tail, the seam there, to kind of hide it a little bit. You don't have to. That's just a little trick sometimes to hide your seams if you don't want them to be seen. Your seams to be seen. Make your way around. Just be gentle because those other ones are still drying. Push that in there. There we go. Like you're painting with glue a little bit, huh? Doesn't take this long to dry at all. I try not to be too heavy with the glue too on the paper because it does sometimes want to stick to the paper. It's easy to get off though, but I know the first couple times I made these, I was a little too heavy with the glue. That's why I have a little better look if I just use the Q-tip rather than this. I get a little heavier if I'm using the bottle directly. And it was a little bit of a chore to get it off of the wax paper. You can also look at your seams and see if there might be, it needs a little, whoops, extra glue. Okay. Now, so we have the inner tight coil, we have the medium blue, and we have our dark blue little baby loose coils. Now we have all of our big teardrops, our big 16 of them. And you can see from the design, they fit nicely in here. I tend to put the seams towards each other, so they kind of, get, well, did I just do that? There we go. So they don't get seen as much. And then we'll put the little tight coil on here. So to do that, the dipping method works really well because it has a point. So we'll make a little puddle of glue there. Come up here and dab off the extra and just slide it in there. Now, I do the same with this other one, but you do have another point that you could glue it. You could give them a little tap of glue here as well. So there we go. Right in between. It'll give them some extra strength. So I would go tap in the glue. Actually, I could take some of this and just smear it up there. That's a little heavy on the glue, but it'll be fine. There we go. And then take its pair over here. And there we go. That's working pretty well. I'm going to turn it to make it easier. As we continue around, I'm going to put it on here, the point, and a little bit on the side. Slide it in. Do the same over here. One pair at a time. Where'd my little fella go? There we go. Okay, I'll finish going around. I'll speed it up so I don't waste your time, and I'll see you in a second. All right, I got all of the loose, not loose, sorry. I got all of the light blue teardrops completed for the outside, and now we just have to glue in our little set of dark blue tight coils, which I just sent flying across the table, but I think I got them all back. So this is actually where sometimes my tweezers come in handy. And this guy is a little gluey looking. I'll just wipe him off. This is just a diaper wipe actually, but works perfectly. All right, so for the tweezers, I just hold it in there. You probably have better non-shaky hands than me, so there we go. Just tucks right in there. I just put a bead of glue on the edge and lay it down. Then I'm gonna tap it a little bit. Same with this guy. Make your way around. Picking them up's the hardest part sometimes. There we go. My goodness. Two more. Looks like our design underneath is not lining up perfectly, but it's fine. I don't know why it got misaligned at some point, but it's the finished product is fine. That's all that matters. All right, now I would say it needs a good 5 to 10 minutes to dry completely. If you fiddle with it too soon, you'll be sorry, because things will start, they won't be glued as well as they should be. So let's give it 5 to 10 minutes and we will come back and take our pins out and get it off of the wax paper. All right, see you in a second. All right, let's take this off of our foam board. Now, when you take your pins out,